continue with our gross weird truths series. Last week we talked about removing the poop.
No, I want to remind her of that.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. So we're looking at like strange lessons from the Bible, and if we believe that the Bible is the Word of God, then everything in it is important. Even the weird stuff, the hard to understand stuff, it's all important. This week we're going to look at two stories and the two other Bible verses that go along with it, but two stories and a few rules from God, and see what truths we can learn and possibly get another look into the person of God. So what we talked about last week was it talks about in the Bible when the men were at war, the Israel men were at war, we talked about where they were supposed to go poop. That they were supposed to go outside of the camp, and then when they do their business, they're supposed to cover it up instead of inside the camp, because if God's walking through, even though He's not physically walking through, He still is going through the camp. And so it shows God's holiness by listening to what He has to say. And then we looked at 1 Peter that talks about being holy, and that we are called to be holy because God is holy. Does anybody know how many times in the Bible, how many Bible verses in the Bible there is about honoring your parents?
You already asked us this, right?
I don't, maybe.
I don't remember.
What did you say then?
You said that about every question I asked. Didn't you already ask that? You said that.
No, it's just the ones that sound familiar.
I'm guessing 10.
About
More
what?
than that.
There's a lot more than that.
100.
100.
Less than
Aww.
that.
75.
Less than that.
70.
50.
More than
5.
60.
55.
Less.
53.
Less.
52.
Yeah.
51.
52.
Oh.
Alright, so this week we're going to continue to talk about God's holiness by taking a look at His teachings on honoring your parents and elders. From the littlest of things to the biggest of things, we are commanded by God to honor what your parents say, no matter how crazy or stupid it might seem to you. God has harsh words and even punishment for those who do not honor their parents. This lesson will take a look at those and discuss how we should live lives that honor your parents. We're also going to talk about how honoring your parents is actually honoring God. And then kind of what we talked about on Sunday, where if you're showing respect to your parents, then in result you're probably going to have more respect for God. So the first part we're going to look at is called Naked Noah.
Whoa.
How many of you, did either of you know that the Bible talks about Noah being naked?
No.
Well, it does.
Well, but if he went for a swim during the, or went for a shower during the flood, then you can assume that he was naked.
Was he naked the whole time?
No.
I'm sure they had undergarments somewhere.
Alright, so the picture that most of us see of Noah is this righteous man that was chosen by God in the midst of a wicked generation to build the boat, to build the ark, and then take his family on in the animals, and then to be the only people left. We know that he had 3 sons, which is going to be an important part of this lesson. So we're going to look at Genesis 9:18 through 29.
Found it.
No, you didn't.
First.
Not
Number 1.
liar.
Winning.
Alright, so the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and the J guy. Why do you call him the J guy? Throughout the some things it says his name too many times. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the 3 sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drunk some of its wine, he became drunk, and laid uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked, and told his brothers outside. But Shem and Jay took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backwards and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his younger son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves. will be to his brothers. He also said, praise to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend Jay's territory. May Jay live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be the slave of Jay. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. Noah lived a total of 950 years, and he died.
So why can't we do that now?
He was 500 years old when he had his kids. So about 50 years after he had his kids is when the flood happened.
Why can't we live for like 900 or something?
Let's see, what we don't know though is what a year was. We don't know if that was
Oh yeah, that's true.
like months or,
That's true.
what they count as a year. So what's happening in this story?
Pretty weird people.
He got
He
drunk.
got drunk and he was
And
naked.
he was naked. And then his youngest son was like, oh,
Dude,
he's
you're
naked.
naked."
I'm gonna go tell everyone. Which is weird. And he goes and tells his brothers. His brothers are like, whoa, why are you looking at our dad naked? And so they go, and they're like, I don't want to see him naked. And they cover him.
Okay,
Basically.
that's pretty much answered the next two questions. What was wrong about the actions of the younger son? Like you said, they
He looked at his brothers.
Curious is bad. Curiosity is
and then what was right about the actions of the older son? They went there, they covered him up.
Didn't look.
But what was wrong? What was wrong with the action of Noah? What was Noah's?
He got drunk.
tattletale.
Okay.
Gives commandments.
So let's break down kind of what just happened. The flood is over and everyone's getting off the boat. What verse 19 is saying is that the sons would be the ones. I actually think that Bible actually says repopulate or something like that.
The earth
Yeah.
was populated.
So it was repopulate. The NIV says scattered. So just repopulating people all over the world. So they were the ones that did that. So in verse 20 we learned that Noah is a farmer and starts producing a vineyard. So this is when we see the wrong action of Noah. It says that he became drunk from the wine and was laying naked inside his tent. So Noah's shame was not that he drank the wine, but rather that he got drunk from it and lost self-control. So then we see the mistake that the younger son made, and then the right action of the older son. So Ham, who is the father of Canaan, which is a big thing to remember about what's going to happen at the end of this, is he goes in, sees his father naked, and comes out and broadcasts to everyone. I mean, there wasn't, a group of people, but
I don't know who would want to know that in
just comes out and
Guess what,
broadcasts
you
that his father was
guys?
naked, and then rather than covering up his father's immodesty. So he went to the tent, came out, and probably said something kind of what you were saying, like, guys, dad's in there, and he's naked, like,
Yo!
Like, whoa,
Yo!
whoa.
or something along that lines, pretty much making fun of his father for what he's done, rather than helping him. He had this outspoken delight in seeing his father and his dad in this condition. And if your nakedness became a sin, since the sin entered the world when Adam and Eve ate the fruit, and like it talks about in that story, they told God we're naked, and God's kind of like, how do you know you're naked? But so it is seen as a sin. Now the two oldest sons do the right thing. So they go and they get this garment, they lay it across their shoulders, and then they enter the tent backwards, and they cover their father's nakedness. Then it says that their faces were turned the other way, so they could not see their father's nakedness. So what they did is they had it on, both of them had it on their shoulders, so that they could go in backwards and then kind of drop it on them instead of having lay it on them.
If they tripped.
That's what I was
How do you-
thinking was, how did they know exactly where it was at? 'Cause I mean, it says they
That's
weren't
what I'm
looking,
wondering.
so
How
kinda
do they
like
know where they
backing up
said it?
a
They
bit.
just chunk it on there?
You
They
know?
just say that they covered him up?
Magic.
Just kind of fell off their shoulders,
Yeah.
landed perfectly. So we don't know exactly how they knew, where he was. And let's say their faces were turned the other way, so clearly,
We should ask him.
Yeah.
I'll call them at the end of the semester.
Okay. How about it?
So, when seniors the actions of the older two sons imitates God, who covered Adam and Eve's nakedness in the garden, and it's believed that Ham's actions may have involved an attempt to take the leadership of the family from Noah because of Noah's actions. So by broadcast, hey, Dad's in there naked, it's like I'm saying, oh, Dad's not any good anymore, it's my turn to take over the leadership. So did Noah's actions by getting drunk change the way that his older sons responded?
Yeah.
His older sons?
Which ones are the older ones?
The ones who covered him up.
Oh.
Alright, so now Noah's going to wake up and he finds out what his younger son has done to him. And Noah has a very harsh response. He cursed Canaan, the son of Ham, and his descendants. So now you may be wondering, why did he curse the son why did he curse the son of Ham instead of Ham? It's believed that he punished Canaan because they were going to be even worse off. The people and his descendants, the Canaanites, would be worse off than Ham would be. And we actually would be going to Leviticus chapter 18. You actually see the actions of the Canaanites, and understand that that the curse really was true, that their actions became even worse than Ham's actions. So that means that the actions of the people in the land of Canaan were living up to the curse. So why do you think Noah responded so harshly to the younger son's actions?
He had a hangover.
That's why he responded so harshly.
I'm just kidding. He was dishonored. He felt like, I took your word from the board.
Okay. I mean, he had, raised this kid, could have just thrown him overboard on the boat and
Just went on about
it makes you wonder, after this happened, was Noah like, I wish I would just thrown you overboard. Like, I had the chance.
Makes you think, I had a
Like,
chance.
I mean,
Man.
you're going to do this to me after we get off the ship. We just got off the boat. And now you're going to do this to me.
Do I need to build another one?
So next we see Noah's response to the actions of his older sons. Noah praises God because he has the source of Sham's blessing, and that Canaan should be the slave of Shem. For J, he asks God to extend the territory that his people will live. And then where it says, may J live in the tent of Shem, that doesn't mean they're actually going to live in the same tent. What it means is that the blessings that he put on Shem will flow out to everyone. And that Canaan will be the slave to both of them. And then Noah lived 350 years after the flood and lived to be 950 years old when he died. What do you think we can learn from this to apply to our own lives?
Why getting drunk and being naked?
Don't get drunk. Get naked. And honor your parents.
Don't get thrown off a boat.
Alright.
Yeah, don't get thrown over the boat.
The
As
Bible,
Nathan says.
the Bible stresses the importance of obeying your parents and having respect for those who are in authority over you. So that's one reason this can be seen as a neat story. The guy that God had chosen to be the head of the new world and be the leader gets drunk and passes out naked in the tent. This shows that Noah, even though he was seen as a righteous man and was chosen by God, was still human and still was going to sin. And he was no better than, I guess you could say he was he was better than the other ones because he wasn't as wicked, but he still had that sin in his life, and he fell short of the glory of God. So this isn't the picture of the Bible hero that most people think of when they think of Noah. Most people, like you said, most people have never even heard this story Because one of the stories churches aren't going to really tell you about. Because they want, Noah's up here, Noah's this great guy, but then you get out of the flood story, they get off the boat, and this happens. And it's kind of, everyone wants to keep Noah, because when Noah's really taught is, when you're a little kid, they're not going to teach little kids about Noah being naked. And so you grow up, and the picture you see of Noah is this righteous man who, wasn't wicked in this generation of wicked people. And,
You think they'll show that in the movie?
I don't know. I'm not gonna.
I used to get drunk off
I refuse to.
grape juice.
Why?
Because it's horribly portrayed of the story.
Oh, I don't know.
Pretty much, the reason people are like, well, you can do a story. The way Noah's portrayed, it's kind of like this battle, like he's battling people off to build the ark.
Oh yeah, I see.
And people are like, well, it's okay. Related to this story, they're like, it's okay. You can see Noah because Noah wasn't just this great righteous man. But I'm like, still, Noah wasn't, fighting people off. Noah
He wasn't pushing them away.
it wasn't like a war or anything like that. Like the movie makes it seem. But even though he messed up and all this, he still expected his sons to treat him with respect. So in the same way, we should always treat our parents with respect, even when they're doing things that are wrong. This doesn't mean that you should stay in an abusive relationship. You should always tell someone if you're being abused in any way. But if you do have to leave home because of that reason, you still should show respect to your parents as you're leaving. It shows kind of that you're the bigger person, even though they're doing that to you. You're still respecting them and still honoring them because God has commanded you to. So the respect that you are supposed to have for your parents doesn't stop when you graduate and move away. You should still honor and respect your parents and their advice they give you. Doing that will help you when you have kids and you're in the same situation. So the next part that we're going to look at is one of my favorite stories of the Bible. It's called Attack for Bald Jokes. It's one of my favorite passages first because I'm going to be bald one day. I'm going to remind people of the story. And second, it's a special passage to me because it's my grandfather's favorite passage. And he would talk about it when people would try to make fun of his baldness. He would point them to this passage and everything like that. So does anyone know what the Bible says about making fun of bald people?
No, do it. I'm guessing.
Don't wear too many hats.
It's a little harsher than that.
People die for making fun of bald people.
Before we read the passage, I'm going to give you a little background of who we're going to be talking about. Elijah was a prophet of God. Most people in Israel believe that he came from God. A prophet from God. I mean, of course he came from God. God made him. But even though they see him as a prophet of God, in the places that he worked, he wasn't treated well. So one day he's going to be walking along the road, and then what we're about to read is going to happen. Now remember, while we're reading this, that what happens on the road, it says it's going to talk about kids, or young man, or something along the wording. And it says kids, but it's not just a few kids, it's going to be a large group of kids. They came, and weren't just there, but they actually met Elijah there to torment him. So the Bible judges disrespect for parents and elders very harshly. So we're going to look at 2 Kings 2:23 through 24.
I'm there first, made it. Page 213. Actually, it's 212, but that's not a page on
All right. From there, Elijah went up to Bethel. As he was walking along the road, some boys came out of the town and jeered at him. "Get out of here.
Whoa.
Get out of here, Baldy." They said, "Get out of here, Baldy." He turned around, looked at them, called down and cursed on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and attacked and killed 42 of the boys. Alright, so
Whoa.
Well, to get a big detail, it was a female.
2 female bears.
So them suckers were a little hungry.
so what are they saying by calling him bald? I mean, of course they're saying he doesn't have hair on his head.
Yes.
But what else do they say about him?
Go up. What does that mean?
We're gonna talk about that.
Like die?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like
It's
how
a little
you're
bit more
old,
than
so
that.
die.
By calling him bald, they're calling him old. So a little bit more about who Elijah was. He was an early Hebrew prophet who succeeded the prophet Elijah when Elijah's time on earth was finished. He ministered in Israel for about 50 years. He performed twice as many miracles as Elijah. So let's break down kind of what happened in this. So Elijah was heading on the road to Bethel. From what we know, the boys knew he was going to be coming that way. That was a road that he traveled often to come, minister there. So they met him there. Bethel was the center of idolatry in Israel. So very few of the people knew God, believed in God. They had a big, golden statue in the middle of town and stuff like that. So the boys are going to confront him and start jeering at him, and tormenting him, calling him bald-headed, which was, and I mean, not as much today, but still can be seen as a form of, a term of disrespect. So then they tell him to get out of here, or other words, what does young fellow say? Does it say go up?
Yeah.
Okay, go up. So what they're saying by that is they're meaning go up to heaven as Elijah had done if he had the power to. They believe that he could just make himself go up to heaven, kind of like when Jesus was on the cross, and they're like, if you're really the Son of God, get down. I mean, and of course he wasn't going to. But so it's kind of the same thing. They kind of told him, okay, if you're such a prophet from God, just get out here. Get out of the situation. Just go up to heaven. So these youth were typical. The things we were saying were typical things that people would tell Elijah and other prophets. They mocked the messengers of God. Baldness was uncommon among the ancient Jews. People with long hair seem to have been viewed as a sign of strength and power. By making fun of him being bald, not only were they talking about his lack of hair, but they were calling him old, and they were also showing their disrespect of the Lord, who they believed had no power. Because if this guy is a messenger and a prophet from God, and he can't make himself go up to heaven, he has no power, then how can God have that power? He's a bald-headed guy, a prophet that's bald-headed, doesn't have long hair, like, was seen as a strength and power. So that shows that they believe that God had no power.
On the track of hair, why are so many movies that involve Jesus, they assume that he has long hair?
Why is it gotta be brown?
I mean, he could have been a black guy.
Have you seen Heaven's for Real?
No.
Come, and that'll answer a lot of your questions.
Well, he just explained having long hair means
Yeah,
lots of
having long
power.
hair, it shows the strength and the power. So now Elijah, just like Noah, calls for a harsh curse. Pretty much even kind of, not kind of, a lot harsher than, I mean, Noah's was, you're going to be pretty much a slave and not get any of the territory. So he calls down this curse on him in the name of the Lord, meaning that Elijah understood that God covenant blessings for those who look to him, but God covenant curses would fall on those who turned away from him. So in the Old Testament, God loved to use wild animals to judge the people that rebelled against him, the people that went against him. And it just so happened that wild bears were common in ancient Israel. So 2 female bears come out of the woods and attack the boys. Now remember, like I said earlier, it wasn't just a few boys. We don't know exactly how many, but we do know that 42 of them were attacked and killed. Now remember that they weren't just attacked because they were disrespecting Elijah, but also because of their disrespect for God. So do you think the curse of Elijah was a little too harsh?
No. That's what they get. That's what they get.
So do you think the youth who escaped ever made fun of bald people again?
Probably not.
I don't believe so.
If they did, then
Nice.
They put the brightest crayons in the box.
I don't know what other, You just watch 42 people get killed
By bears.
by bears.
You're just gonna be like, huh.
Alright, so these youth treated Elijah horribly because of his age. Once again, we see God treating this as a big deal. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we treat this as a big deal? Do we think that being disrespectful to our parents or to our elders is something that warrants harsh punishment? If you think that was harsh, then the next law that we're going to look at that God gives is really going to surprise you. So there's this bald jokes skit deal, but we don't have enough, so I'm just going to read it to you. So it says, there's a story from 2 Kings chapter 2, just so you know, Elijah was a prophet from God. Hi, I'm Elijah, I'm a prophet. The Bible says that Elijah went to Bethel, and while he was going on his way, some small boys came out of the city and jeered at him, saying, "Go up, you bald-headed, go up, you bald-headed." In today's language, it would probably look something like this. You're bald. He's super bald. He's so bald I can read his mind. He's so bald, when he wears a turtleneck, he looks like roll-on deodorant. Roll-on deodorant. Dude, I made some sunglasses. I need some sunglasses. The glare from his head is blinding. Is that your head or is your neck blowing a bubble? You're so bald when you take a shower, your brain washes. And it says that one of them goes over and puts his hand on the head and says, "I can see the future and it's very, very lonely."
Who comes up with those? Seriously.
Actually, the future is going to be very, very short, because here is actually what happens in the next verse, and the bears come down and
They all die.
Alright. So the next part is the price of dishonor. So most of the time, when you try to talk to people, when teenagers are talked about respecting their parents, they just, they're going to roll their eyes, mother about their parents just don't get it or something similar. So to badmouth your parents is common for teenagers, but it goes against God's plan. So what we're going to look at is God's punishment for rebellious children. So let's look at Deuteronomy 21:18 through 21.
You beat me this time.
I've been waiting.
Found it done in the
Alright, so if someone has a stubborn or rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother and will not listen to them, then they discipline him. His father and mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, "This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is drunk." Then all the men of the town are to stone him to death. They must plunge the evil from among you. All Israel will hear of this and be afraid. So what are parents supposed to do if they have a rebellious son?
Kill him.
Stone him.
But they're not supposed to kill him.
Oh.
Well, yeah, the city's gonna stone him to death.
Alright.
City or town. Ours says city.
Take hold of him and bring him out to the elders.
Okay, and then the punishment is he's getting stoned for his actions. Which by son, just like the rest of the Bible, it means son or daughter.
I was about to say, 'cause
If you actually get into the New Testament, especially like after Matthew, like in Romans throughout, it starts saying brother and sister. But Old Testament times, son was used for both son and daughter. So the problem in view was one of lack of respect for the parents going against the fifth commandment. The offense could result in death of the child. Now, what you got to understand, this rebellion was not just a one-time thing. Like one time your children rebelled, you must take them to the people and have them stoned. This was something that happened over a long period of time, continued rebellion. But before the parents would respond in this manner, they would try every measure to correct their son. And this would be the last resort for the parents. So they'd take them to the elders at the gate and tell them that they are rebellious. Then all the men of the town, not just the elders, but all the men of the town, would stone them to death. And as a result, they would teach others not be rebellious.
Like they would seriously get them so drunk they died.
What?
They seriously got them so drunk they died.
They would stone them to death. Like,
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Rocks.
Oh, I thought you were talking about stoning because it said that that he was drunk.
The son would get drunk.
And you're talking about stoning, and I'm thinking literally, and I'm like,
No, like rocks. Parents were taught that they should put their love for God above their love for their children. Do you think these actions are justified?
are they right?
Yeah.
No.
Why not?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, nowadays we don't get stoned. So of course you're not going to think that's right.
Okay. So death because you don't listen to your parents is a pretty harsh sentence. But again, we find that God is teaching something here. He's teaching about more than just being nice to your parents. He's teaching about himself. Our parents are a reflection of God here on earth. That is why God set up the family so we could understand Him better. That is also why He thinks it's so important for us to treat our parents with respect. It's important to remember that God made the family so that we could understand Him better. God doesn't have to look at nature to come up with like an object to teach a lesson. He created nature so to line up with what He was trying to teach. So we understand God better by understanding our fathers here on earth. That is why honoring your father is such a big deal. Because you're also honoring God. So the next part we're going to look at is, so what if you have bad parents? Yeah, so let's be honest. I mean, everyone in the world, not everyone, but we deal with a lot of things of having bad parents. I mean, or having parents that don't believe in God, or do not follow Him. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to, because of God's command, you're still supposed to respect them. And since you're commanded to do this, you still have to respect them and honor them. So you honor your father and mother. You don't have to turn to this. We're going to look at Exodus 20:12.
2012, hey, that was just like 3 years ago. Wait, no, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is this 2014?
It's 2014. Honor your father and mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God has given you. Alright. So there is four things that this verse is telling you to do by honoring your parents. So you're to praise highly, you're supposed to care for your parents, show respect for, and obey. And then it says that you may live long if you do the things, which is actually the first commandment. The first four don't do this, but this one does do it, that it gives you a promise if you obey the commandment. Why does the Bible say that you should honor your parents? Why does the Bible say you should honor your parents?
Take it away, Nathan.
Because the Bible told me so. I mean, just because, kind of like we talked about a minute ago, God gave parents as an example of who He is. Now, you may be asking, well, if that's the case, then why do parents treat kids badly and everything like that? Well, even through them times, if you still respect God, still respect your parents, you're respecting God. And even though, you don't have the greatest parents, you still have the respect for God by respecting them. And then, so what does honoring your parents look like, besides the 4 things I listed up there? What are examples of what you can honor your parents?
Obey.
That's wonderful.
Oh, is it?
Loving them. That's perfect.
You gonna look out the window, huh?
Hey, let me answer.
And just, doing things that maybe they didn't ask you to do, but that you know needs to be done.
The same thing as obey.
Well, as examples though, that's the exact word, obey. As we have like examples of that.
Oh.
Like examples of what you can honor.
Taking out the trash.
Leaving the house. It could be one. And you just plain annoying and they want you to go.
Alright. So honoring your parents is more than just being nice to them and not yelling at them. It's about living in such a way as to bring them honor. When people look at your life, when they see the way you act, the way that you live, does that bring honor to your father and mother? Do you treat them with respect when you are with them? And do you live in such a way that to bring honor to them, even when they're not around? So do you live with, do you treat your elders with respect? God may not be sending any bears your way. He's not gonna, if you call somebody bald, he's not gonna be attacked by a bear.
Guaranteed.
If you do, then sorry about you.
Y'all are gonna hear it then.
But I do know that you're being called to live a life with respect towards your elders. If you're doing that, you're living a life that God intended you to live.
Nathan, do you have a G-Shock?
Well, he doesn't have a mini.
Is it one? I can't tell.
What?
Is yours a G-Shock?
No. I don't know what it is. From China. It even has
It's a
like
watch.
Chinese letters on it. It's all. So this is an honor meter test.
You got a problem?
Yeah.
Fix it.
You need to be quiet. I can't concentrate. I think Are we supposed to be honest?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. It's just for you.
If there's a whole lot of 5s, trust me, I'm answering these correctly.
I was trying to see if 5 was the highest.
Never mind, you won't have a whole lot of 5s, but close enough.
I'm not sure if you can hear this one. Can you hear it right there?
I'm not.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. I don't know why.
Isn't it louder than that?
Everything's loud. It's the video that's quiet, not the.
No? A lot.
If you're not the oldest, not the
Arthur
youngest, then you're in the
Christian
middle.
Joseph. Ruby.
Yeah, there's not 3 on each side, so it's not the middle.
You're exactly the
No.
Alright, so we're going to go through some questions really quick. So what was the high point and low point of this past week for you?
high point was being at the river and getting tan, and the low point was the ride home.
Yay.
Yeah, I slept.
That's a low point? Shoot, I'd be happy.
I hate car rides. I hate car sick. Not really, but
What jumped out at you about tonight's lesson? Was there anything you didn't know before?
No, we're getting naked.
not to make fun of old people. No, we're getting naked.
Just remember that. I'm gonna remember that you said that when I go bald and you're like making fun of me.
Yeah, look, just look out for a bear.
I'm just gonna look at you and be like,
I'm gonna like get a bear and touch you. Do you think your friends would say that you treat your parents with respect?
That's on the scale from 1 to 10. I say 5.
Okay.
yes.
No.
Do you even know what the question is? You say
You
yes.
don't even live with your parents.
No.
If you were to live in the time of the Bible, do you think that you would be in trouble and be stoned because of the way that you treated your parents?
I think we should all say yes to that.
Yeah. Probably.
What are 2 things that you need to work on this week, to work out this week in order to show more respect to your parents?
Leave home.
It's fun.
I wouldn't know. Stop 10 years of school.
Alright. So next week, the lesson's called The Prophet and the Prostitute Wedding.
Whoa.
This will be the last week of this series.